friends, it's T-Man, and we're back again with another Blaha Bomba Cloud video. We're going to react to the gym lifting, recruiting, fitness, gear slave himself, Blaha. So in this video, Blaha says, carbohydrates rock for lean muscle growth. Yeah, but it is considered artificial. But okay, yeah, you could say that. Again, I mentioned this in other videos. Carbohydrates, these foods that you're eating, will create something artificial in your body. It's an artificial diet because as a carnivore, you're eating something outside of what you're supposed to eat, which is considered artificial, bro. Get it? Okay, anyway.
Carbohydrates absolutely help tremendously with muscle growth. Hey, everybody.
I would not say that carbohydrates help tremendously. I would say that you could utilize complex carbohydrates. See what I mean? And they can aid in this building effect. Yeah, and building muscle. Yeah. But it's still considered artificial. It's fake. If it's artificial, it's fake.
JasonBlaha here. I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today, but a quick reminder, if you guys will please click like down below, it'd be greatly appreciated. If you're not following or subscribed.
Look, man, humans are meant to consume animal and run off animal fat as an energy source. We function better on animal products and animal fat. That's why we have so many problems, health problems in the health industry, in the fitness industry, because people can't stop eating these goddamn artificial fucking foods. And on top of it, they're like, carnivore diet. We're not carnivores. We're herbivores. Humans are not herbivores. We have a very short track, bro, digestive tract. We're not herbivores and we are not omnivores, okay? We are not omnivores, bro. Get it? Get all these fucking crazy people out there. They want to convince you humans are omnivores like crazy Blaha. Insane Blaha. Put it in the insane asylum.
Do so, and if you'll be kind enough to drop me a comment down below, I would appreciate it so much. So
yeah, put it down below my comment, bro. There's no such thing as carnivore diet. Humans are carnivores.
Let's get over to the topic. And now when I say this, I'm not saying...
There's natural diet. You could call it natural diet. And then there's like artificial diet. See? What's a natural diet to a human? Well, we consume animals. And whatever the animal consumes, we consume the animal. So whatever's in there, we consume it, okay? And we may eat some nectar sometimes if we're hungry, and some fruit in nature. We might roam around if we find some fruit or nectar. Why is that? Maybe because we're starving and there's no animals in sight. Here's the thing. When did humans ever become aquatic? Why? Why did they become aquatic at some point? Because why were we nomadic? Number one, why were we nomadic? Because the animals would run away. They knew we were coming. They have an instinct to survive. So they're going to try to survive too. They're going to run away. They don't want to be hunted and eaten. So they're going to run away. So humans staying in one place, hanging around thinking, well, I got to go out there and hunt. Well, you got to go out there and really hunt, bro. Get it? Well, what they discovered was there's an endless supply of fish. They're easier to hunt than hunting animals because the animals, they fucking run away, bro. They run fast. You understand me? We're not built for speed. We're built for long distance, but we aren't really built for speed compared to these animals. They're really built for speed. Get it? Here's the thing. Humans run on 2 legs. Animals run on 4 legs. They are built for speed. Humans are not built for speed, but people will argue, oh, there's the Olympics, bro. We can run under 9 seconds. Yeah, you can. But you still can't outrun a cheetah, okay, dude? Or a gazelle or whatever, okay? Or any of these fucking animals. You can't outrun any of them. They run fast on 4 legs. So humans are the slowest animal out there, okay? Man. And so they started fishing because it was a lot easier. That's why you see settlements always near rivers and lakes and oceans. Humans settled by water because it's an easier source of food, fish. Do you understand me? It's always available.
this is even the only way. Simply going to point out the reality.
And that's when humans grew a brain, eating seafood. We grew a brain. You understand me? We grew a brain. We got intelligent. Our brains grew. Why are they shrinking now? Because we don't eat seafood anymore. People don't eat seafood. That's why your brain's shrinking. So I suggest you eat a lot of a lot of brain food. Eat a lot of seafood, bro. Your brain is gonna grow, okay? It's got a lot of omega-3 in there.
That carbohydrates absolutely create a very anabolic environment in the body.
It does, but it creates it artificially. You understand me? Well, but people will argue it doesn't create it artificially. It does it naturally. Well, it does it naturally, but it's artificial what you're eating. So it's creating really, in the end of the day, it's creating it artificially. You understand me? It's being induced artificially, not naturally. Because natural is based on your natural diet, eating animals and animal fat, and maybe, like I said, some nectar and maybe fruit, bro, because you're starving out there in nature.
Again, so, we talk about calories and muscle growth and needing at least maintenance calories and everything. Well, carbohydrates are calories, they're fuel. So you have to fill.
Carbohydrates are calories, yeah. It's an energy source. You're eating energy foods which are gonna age the fuck out of you. Those kind of energy sources. Because plants, dude, they are drugs, man. And all drugs are made from plants.
It with something. You've got to fill it with protein, fats, carbohydrates. And here's the issue. You can't just keep loading protein. So this is a misconception.
No, you don't. I love this. Blaha wants to convince you can't just keep loading protein. You don't. You eat animal fat, bro. Your mitochondria, your body runs off animal fat. Have you ever tried that? Have any of you unnatural humans, you domesticated humans, have you ever eaten your natural diet long enough to fucking find out? Christ.
People have that, well, if you just eat tons and tons of protein, we can create, calorie surplus from that too, and it's so anabolic.
We can eat tons and tons of protein. It'll be anabolic and that. Yeah, it is. There's IGF-1 there. Sure, eating protein. It increases IGF-1. Yeah, that's its job, bro. But come on. You eat a lot of animal fat. That's what gives you the energy. But here's the thing. I mean, when carnivores eat other animals, we eat them. They've eaten carbohydrates. They eat plants, bro. So you kind of get them. You get it. Whatever you're eating there, the animal, bro. You may get some of that artificial stuff in your diet anyways, eating the animal.
It doesn't cause more muscle growth, does it? Right? When protein reaches that.
Does it cause more muscle growth? What causes muscle growth? Damage. If there's insufficient damage, then there will be insufficient growth. The more the damage, the more the micro tears damage, the more it will repair and go through a remodeling. Yeah. So protein synthesis needs to exceed that breakdown after that damaging session. Otherwise, it was a waste of time.
A certain threshold around 1.5, 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight doesn't seem to cause any more muscle growth, even in bodybuilders, even in elite strength athletes.
Well, how could it increase any more growth? Protein itself, it's not going to damage the muscle for you and go through repair and remodeling. It can only repair and remodel it. You understand me? It can't damage it for you. You got to damage it. Of course, there's not going to be any more growth there. There's no damage. There's nothing to rebuild.
Been studied. At that point, it just becomes not only calories, but look at the protein overfeeding studies. They lose weight. So when
I love this. Not only does it become calories, it will not become calories if there's massive amounts of damage, because it will go through a repair and a remodeling stage. Jesus, you're going to become something, bro, that people have never seen before. You're going to be a different kind of animal if you go through these stages of damage. Like these other lifters that go to the gym, they've never gone through any of that. They've never experienced that, so they wouldn't know. Only a person who's done it will know.
Try to take people and add an extra 200 grams of protein to people on high protein diets at maintenance. They start losing weight. They end up being in a small deficit. Now, they still gain muscle.
Yeah, you could lose weight eating just protein. Here's the thing. If you're not eating animal fat and this, using it as an energy source, you're just eating protein itself. It's a high nutrient diet, right? Very low fat. Will you lose weight? Yeah, you could lose weight. Yeah, sure. and not eating any carbohydrates. Well, the carbohydrates they won't be loading up in your body. Like, you understand me? They won't be there. There's no carbs.
Don't get me wrong, they gain muscle and recomposition. But like my friend Alex Leaf,
They gain muscle and recomposition. How does your body gain a muscle recomping? It only gains muscle through damage, not recomping. What are you talking about?
did his graduate work in this with Dr. Antonio, worked with him on that. And
Maybe he's talking about non-contractile proteins. Build the muscle through accumulating more non-contractile proteins. Okay.
that's what they found, so you can't just get those calories by just forcing hundreds and hundreds of grams of protein. You end up just losing weight. Now, it's a great way to cut if you have the budget for 400 grams of protein a day. Most people don't. Not these days. But, and it's very unpalatable eventually. No one's wanting to eat that much chicken or that much protein shakes. So the thing is that
you're putting your body through tremendous amounts of stress doing that, which is bad for your body. And accelerated aging, like Blaha.
doesn't work. So then you really are left with getting calories unless you're going
Look, he's lifting twice a day now in the gym. He's lifting during the day and at night, bro. I told you, pump training.
to be in a deficit all the time, losing weight all the time. You've got to get them from carbs or fat. And so you have to look at it and go, what do carbohydrates bring to the table? They bring a lot. Number one, obvious training fuel.
Well,
right?
they can induce or regulate hormones. They can increase them like insulin. They can also, I guess you could say, they can spare the protein for the building phase of the muscle. You'll tap into that energy source, the artificial energy source called carbohydrates. That'll be utilized. See what I mean? But can you do that with animal fat? Yeah, you can. But carbohydrates do something different than what animal fat does because it's artificial. You understand me? It's not natural.
Greasy training fuel. Now, I'm going to say that we could absolutely make a case for really healthy fats with a heavy leaning towards PUFAs. We could absolutely do that and create an anabolic environment, but that's a completely different topic.
It's like this. Are steroids natural? No. They're not natural. They're artificial. Yeah. So when you inject them, they're artificial. They're not natural.
Mainly due to their profound ability to create insulin sensitivity. Yeah. So then the little bit of carbs you do eat, and then maybe
they don't create insulin sensitivity. They don't do any of that. They can make you insulin resistant is what carbohydrates can do to you. Now, complex carbohydrates, they do something different than these so-called carbohydrates.
The protein you eat, the insulin response from that, because protein has a robust insulin response, can work very well. But it's really...
Why doesn't he ever talk about animal fat? The energy that you get from animal fat and how muscle is built eating animal fat. You still need it in your diet. It's difficult to build muscle without animal fat.
Talk about the merits of carbohydrates. Number one, right off the top of the bat, number one training fuel for all high output activity. Now, a lot of your cardio doesn't.
Man, his neighbors must think Blaha's nuts. He's lifting day and night. Look, the night light came on. The neighbors are looking at him, going, "What's going on with this guy? This lifting slave in the garage."
Necessarily need it. You can burn fat, but it's our preferential fuel source. It's always going to be our go-to. All high intensity.
No, it's not. It's not the human preferential fuel source. The preferential fuel source for humans as carnivores is animal fat and always will be. It is not carbohydrates.
Cardio, all weightlifting, all resistance training only burns carbohydrates. If you do not have sufficient amounts, your gains will absolutely suffer because your training will suffer.
That's not true. All of you would have to experiment then and see if your training and lifting and all that's going to suffer. Eat a high animal fat diet and find out for yourself. And then go eat eat protein and then go eat some carbohydrates without animal fat and see what happens. You see what I mean? That's all.
And people say, well, can't we just make it from protein or whatever? You can, but then you need huge amounts of protein, and you have to.
What is he talking about? Can you make an energy source from protein? You don't. You eat animal fat, you dumbass, as a fuel source. Is this like, what is this?
Have a lot of that for your brain. Some of your other functions require it. So again, it's going to be hard. Then you end up with less glycogen stores potentially.
I can tell you this, you need massive amounts of omega-3s. If you are a sports person and you're lifting or whatever you're doing there, or trying to build muscle, you need massive amounts of omega-3. And I'm not talking about from supplements, dude. I'm talking about from natural food.
Can become problematic if you're chasing muscle fullness and all those things. And so this is something you have to
See, chasing muscle and what is it? Fullness, glycogen stores, glycogen loading, this artificial whatever muscle gains, these artificial muscle gains from what? From the glycogen. Animal fat is not going to do that.
think about with that. So without the carbohydrates, if you go kind of the other extreme, you still have to have enough for your training fuel any way you break it down. But so let's look at the other real merits. Number one, insulin itself, right? Insulin is merits. Number one, insulin itself, right? Insulin is insanely anabolic. Insanely anabolic. We know this from the body.
It is. It's insanely anabolic, but it can be other things too. So you're inducing it artificially by eating something artificial called carbohydrates. Okay.
Bodybuilding world because they take it. That's what created the mass monsters. So insulinogenic response of carbohydrates. It's critical for muscle growth. Okay, critical for muscle.
It's not critical for muscle growth, but it aids. It can help. But is it totally critical? Not necessarily. And I wouldn't do it for long term. I mean, it's good for short term when you're trying to build muscle. But once you're done building muscle, I would stop doing that if I were you.
Muscle growth, and the best way to get a larger insulin response is to eat carbohydrates. You're going to get a larger insulin.
Oh, I forgot. You guys are still building muscle. For 30 years, you're building muscle, right? So you're going to do that for 30 years straight, man. You're really going to fuck yourself.
Response, better anabolism to muscle tissue. And as long as you're not insulin resistant, it's not going to contribute to fat gain at all. People forget this.
As long as you're not insulin resistant, but simple carbs make you insulin resistant.
Right, this is only for, it's not going to do this for people who are in shape. You know, you might store some of the fat you eat, obviously, but you're not getting body fat.
You might store some of the fat that you're eating. Well, then what good is that?
From the insulin response.
Here's the thing. If you're not eating these garbage foods, then how could you be storing fat if you're eating that? If you're eating a complex carb and you're lifting and you're just eating protein, how are you going to get fat? See what I mean? He didn't really explain that to you, that part. What will create the fat? What will make you fat? Well, the fat that's in that food will make you fat. Right? I don't know. It depends. Look, you need a certain amount of food to build if you're actually really building muscle, if you're damaging and you're building it. So you're gonna need a lot of energy. That energy being protein, whatever. Could be animal fat, maybe some artificial food like a complex carbohydrate like potato or whatever. You definitely don't want to eat rice because it has arsenic, so it's counterproductive to what you're trying to produce there. But it's not something you want to do long term. And if you're trying to get cut, you definitely don't want to be on carbohydrates, any kind of carbohydrates. Wow.
The carbohydrates. So it works extremely well. Now, people could make the case for...
It can affect your physique. These so-called artificial diets, these carbohydrates, they can affect the way your physique will look. See what I mean? So it really is up to you to experiment and try eating your natural food. But I know people don't like natural in this artificial world. They like whatever's artificial. They love artificial, bro, but whatever. The thing is it's up to you. If you don't want to look like Blaha, I suggest you do not eat the slave food diet and you eat as natural as possible. I'm not saying you should not eat some carbohydrates. You can eat some. You can introduce it. But here's the thing. In a building phase, you're going to probably need to increase it because you're getting bigger all the time. And so it needs more energy now. You're getting bigger and stronger. You're going to have to increase more of it because you're in a building phase. So yeah, but at some point you build yourself to a degree where you're satisfied, and then you go, okay, you know what? I think I like where I am now. And then you can cut that out and just do animal fat and protein. So you can do something more natural as opposed to being on something artificial to induce things artificially.
Some downregulation of insulin sensitivity if we go too extreme on this in theory, but you got to go relatively far with that. If you're down at maintenance calories or slightly above though, and you're eating enormous amount of carbohydrate, you're hitting your bare minimums of fat and protein. It's not really occurring in that case. You've got to really be in a calorie surplus.
Okay.
You have to be in a calorie surplus for that to occur. So you have that. You also keep in mind it increases thyroid output. Not so much the creation of thyroid hormone, but the conversion of T4 into T3 keeps your metabolic rate humming along really nicely. And then the other big one, insulin response from the carbohydrate lowers SHBG, which therefore increases free testosterone. It's kind of a big deal.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't. It could affect your. Here's the thing: you have to be careful. It could affect your sex drive. It can affect your sex drive, and it could affect your. It could affect your erections, your sex drive. These carbohydrates. I'm not joking. You need to be careful because it's artificial. It's not based on something natural. Get it, man?
Kind of a big deal here, guys. You can't ignore that. So when we start looking at the hormonal environment, carbohydrates, and I'm talking about cleaner carbohydrates, I'm talking about either starchy carbs, rice, potatoes, beans, things like that.
Here we go, starchy carbs. The first thing, rice, potatoes, and beans. Well, I would stick to potatoes if you had to. Stay away from beans, stay away from rice.
Right, this is what I mean. I guess it's not.
Beans are extremely high in oxalates. They're dangerous. And rice, arsenic, dude, very bad.
Extent wheat, although I'm not going to be a huge fan of refined wheat. I know we can make a case that it's not really bad. I personally don't feel the best when I do it. And I can just speak for myself. We could argue about placebo or whatever, but other people do great on pastas and stuff. If you do, then hey, great, knock yourself out. Breads and things don't can have too much.
I love this. People do great on pasta and bread. Yeah. Let me build my physique eating pasta and bread. Let me see what I'll look like. Oh, man. Yeah, you want to destroy your health quickly? Eat a lot of pasta and bread. Yeah, sure. Slave food diet.
Find stuff so there can be your problem.
Yes, eat these artificial foods.
More than anything. But generally I'm talking about this, or I'm talking about fruit. I'm not talking
Look, I wouldn't worry about it, man. They want to feed you artificial meat anyways. Artificial meat, artificial this, artificial that, whatever. At this point, everything pretty much is artificial anyways these days at the store. What's natural out there anyways, bro?
About eating a bunch of cakes and pies. I'm not talking about eating massive amounts of just...
See, cakes and pies. He just keeps talking about artificial food. He can never talk about anything natural because Blaha is so unnatural.
White bread. I'm not talking about
Bread.
refined sugars, right? So we're talking about either nice, good quality starchy carbohydrates or fruit. Okay, this works extremely well. Now,
He says nice starchy carbohydrates, and then he says fruit. Where fruits aren't starchy carbohydrates, okay? But okay, fruit has fructose in it. You don't want a lot of fructose. It's going to cause you metabolic disturbances. It can fuck your mitochondria up.
is the only route? No.
It's also associated with retardation. It says that in PubMed. It's a new study that came out. I produced it a while ago in community section.
Now, I would say saturated fat's the least anabolic calorie you can consume. Sorry, guys, they don't want to hear that.
I love this. Saturated fat is the least anabolic. I don't know that. I don't know that it's the least anabolic. Do you think it's the least anabolic?
You say that, it just is. It causes insulin resistance. It stores his body fat easier.
Saturated fat cause insulin resistance? I don't know. Let me see. Saturated fat anabolic. Can indirectly support anabolic processes, particularly by influencing hormonal production, specifically testosterone. Saturated fat is a component of cell membranes and is necessary for hormone synthesis, including testosterone, which plays a crucial role in muscle growth. Oh, well, there you go. He says it's not, Blaha. But here it says it is. Saturated fats, along with cholesterol, are vital for the production of testosterone and other androgens, which are essential for muscle growth. But Blaha will argue it's not. See what I mean? So is it anabolic? Yes. It's just as anabolic, bro. He's crazy, man. Oh, brother, whatever. I get tired of listening to Blaha's bullshit.
So we come over, though, what about really healthy fats, particularly PUFAs, to some extent, MUFAs,
All animal fat is healthy fat for you.
Olive oil, avocado oil, or just...
Look, avocado oil, olive oil is healthy for you. Those are artificial. They're not found anywhere in nature. You wouldn't eat them.
The actual olives or avocados, even better. Or what about nut butter?
Olive oil doesn't exist anywhere on planet Earth.
Nuts, seeds, fatty fish, and we start...
Why would you eat nuts and seeds? Well, fatty fish is good for you, yeah. Omega-3.
Getting at all our polyunsaturated fats. Those are also very anabolic. In fact, there's definitely research showing they can contribute.
I don't know about omega-3 being anabolic, but you definitely need it. It's a specific nutrient.
Contribute to body recomposition in people, particularly older people. But the main thing, they increase insulin sensitivity. So instead of the other extreme of reducing it.
They did a study on these fish. They were going through a river and they would eat leaves on the way. They would munch on these leaves. And then they found that these fish, 70% of their DNA was made up of those leaves that they were eating downriver. Isn't that crazy? So what's your DNA made up when you eat these artificial foods? What is your DNA made up of when you stop eating your natural food and eat and consume more of these artificial foods? How much of your DNA is made up now of this artificial shit?
The large amounts of PUFAs improve insulin sensitivity. They lower inflammation in humans.
Sure they do.
So if you're looking to recover quicker, reduce inflammation, have really high insulin sensitivity.
These PUFAs, they cause insulin resistance. They cause inflammation. What are you talking about, man?
So a little bit of carbohydrate you do eat, and then your protein can be extremely anabolic.
Look, man. If I eat potatoes, they cause bloating. What's that bloating? Inflammation, bro. Why? Because it's unnatural. It's artificial. Anything you eat artificial is going to give you an inflammatory response right away in your body. That's why people keep complaining about inflammation, especially older people. It increases even more as they get older. So all of these things are affecting you. Why doesn't your natural diet give you this inflammatory response? Because it's natural. Only artificial things give you inflammation because they're artificial for you to eat them.
That route also actually works really, really well. So I would come to it and say really your best two approaches in which you need to be getting your calories from to gain as much muscle as possible would be carbohydrate or really.
You want to know how I address these things? They're based on my experience. So when I'm talking to you in my videos, I'm basing it off of my experiences and some stuff that I've read to corroborate that my experience is based on these events. You see what I mean? I'm not making them up. And if I don't know something, if I'm not exactly sure, I may stop the video and look it up just to confirm sometimes. Because I'm not 100% sure on everything. I can't remember or know every single detail. You know what I mean? As I'm going through the video. But it's an educational video because I'm educating myself at the same time. Listen to me, man. When I'm speaking to you, I'm educating you, but I'm educating myself at the same time, bro. You understand me? I'm helping you while I'm helping myself. That is the idea. But Blaha, he doesn't want to help you. He doesn't even listen to his instincts because he's such an artificial human. He understands. He's been domesticated, like he's so domesticated at this point.
Healthy, mostly polyunsaturated fats, but to some
Whatever.
extent monounsaturated.
Whatever.
But carbs rock.
They don't rock. Based on real experience, they don't rock. It's a lie. I'll see you in the next video, friends. I gotta go. I guess that was over. It's over. See you in the next one. Touch. Think about that. Like, subscribe, support the channel. See you in the next video, bro.